The pill organizer clicked shut in my hand like it was trying to be helpful. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 15 little reminders that my body needed cooperation more than motivation right now. I set it next to my NWU top on the chair, checked the time, and stared at my calendar like it might magically remove the words, TRICARE follow-up 0730. I'd just come back from convalescent leave after surgery. Not some dramatic movie recovery. Real life. Tight neck, scratchy throat. The kind of hoarse voice that makes you sound like you spent the weekend screaming at a football game you didn't attend. The Navy doesn't hand you a medal for showing up to your own life, but I was doing it anyway. Evan had moved out the night before. 8 years of marriage, and he packed it into 2 car trips and a garbage bag full of hangers. He didn't slam doors. He didn't yell. He did this calm, careful thing, like he was trying to be the good guy in his own story. He said he needed space. He said we'd talk when things settled. He said a lot of words that didn't change the fact that I woke up alone in a house we used to argue about paint colors in. I didn't cry that morning. I didn't have time. I had a medical appointment, and I had to be at the command after. I was on limited duty for now desk work. No heavy lifting, no long watches, and I could already hear some random person in my head saying, "Must be nice." Yeah. Must be nice to get your neck cut open and then be told you're lucky you can still type. I took a sip of coffee. It was cold because I forgot it existed. That's my new hobby, forgetting normal things. I opened my notes app and typed a new header without thinking too hard about it. Personal log, date, time. What happened? I'd started doing it after surgery because my memory got weird in little patches, and because writing things down kept my brain from spinning. It also helped when people tried to rewrite reality later, which is basically a national pastime in some families. The doorbell rang. I froze with my phone in my hand. Nobody comes over at 6:45 unless something's on fire or they're about to make your day worse. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Brielle Mercer, my sister-in-law. She was standing there with a purse on her shoulder and a smile that was way too confident for that hour of the morning. She looked put together in that I wake up perfect way. Hair done, lip gloss, a jacket that probably cost more than my last 3 grocery trips. She waved like we were meeting for brunch. I opened the door because my brain was still catching up to the idea that my husband didn't live here anymore, and because part of me assumed stupidly that people had limits. Brielle's eyes did a quick scan from my face to my pajama pants and back up. Like I was a used car she was deciding not to buy. Well, she said, stepping closer, like she was coming in for a hug. She didn't. Evan was right. You really let yourself go. My hand stayed on the doorknob. She tilted her head and delivered it like a joke. No man stays with a woman who looks like a pig. There it was, clean and sharp, a direct hit. I felt my face go hot, but my body didn't move. It was like my nervous system filed it under too ridiculous to process before breakfast. I had surgery, I said. My voice came out rough. I hated that it sounded weak. I'm recovering. Brielle rolled her eyes like I'd said I was recovering from a hangnail. Please, don't do the whole illness thing with me, she said. Men say they understand because they don't want to be the bad guy. But Evan is done pretending. My stomach tightened. Evan held my hand during appointments. Evan told me I was fine. Evan told me he loved me. And now his sister was standing in my doorway saying he'd been faking it. Brielle took 1 step forward. I shifted to block her, but she didn't slow down. She reached into her bag and pulled out a key. My key. The spare. She held it up like she was showing off a prize. He gave this to me years ago, remember? For emergencies. Her smile widened. This qualifies. She pushed past me and let herself into my house. Technically, it was our house, still. On paper, for now. I followed her inside, my heart thudding in that slow, heavy way that means you're about to do something stupid or something smart. I didn't know which one it would be yet. Brielle walked straight toward the kitchen like she'd rehearsed. She opened a cabinet, then another. She wasn't looking for dishes. She was making a point. Evan paid for this place, she said, scanning my countertops. And you know what? He tried. He really did. But he deserves someone who takes care of herself. I gripped my phone harder. In my notes app, I typed while she talked. 0647, Brielle at door. Quote, no man stays. Looks like a pig. Uses spare key. Enters without permission. My hands were shaking, but the typing steadied me. Actually, I said I paid half the mortgage for years. Brielle laughed loud and sharp. Sure. Before you got sick, before you turned into this. She flicked her fingers toward me, like she was brushing crumbs off a table. Then she turned and walked down the hallway toward the garage door. Adam, sorry Evan needs his golf stuff, she called over her shoulder. He said you made him keep it out there like he was some kind of guest. I followed her into the garage, and the smell of old cardboard and motor oil hit me. Evan's golf clubs sat in the corner, where they'd always been untouched, like they were waiting for a personality to show up and use them. Brielle grabbed the bag and struggled with it because it was heavier than she expected. That almost made me smile. Almost. You know what's wild? She said, dragging it toward the door. He's already moving on. I didn't answer. She set the golf bag down by the entryway, pulled out her phone, and tapped the screen with bright nails. Look, she said and shoved it in my face. Evan's dating profile. A recent picture of him smiling in a button-down, like he was applying for the role of nice guy who doesn't abandon his wife after cancer. His height listed. His job described in the most flattering way possible. The bio had that polished tone that screamed, someone else wrote it. Brielle watched my eyes as I read. I helped him, she said, like she was proud of editing a college essay. Men are terrible at selling themselves. I fixed it. I stared at the line that said he was looking for a healthy, positive woman, ready for a fresh start. Healthy, positive, fresh start. Like I was spoiled milk. My throat tightened. Not from crying. From anger that wanted to turn into something loud. Brielle scrolled with her thumb and tilted the screen so I could see the notifications. Dozens of matches, not hundreds. She didn't need to exaggerate. The point was the same. She pulled her phone back and smiled. See, the market has spoken. I took a slow breath and stepped back. I opened my notes app and typed again. 0652, Evan dating profile shown by Brielle. Bio mentions healthy woman. Brielle says she wrote it, shows dozens of matches. Brielle's smile faltered for half a second. What are you doing? She asked. Documenting, I said. She scoffed. Oh my God, you're really going to do this? I'm going to work, I said, because I didn't trust myself to say anything else. Brielle's eyes narrowed like she couldn't believe I wasn't collapsing the way she wanted. She turned and headed for the stairs. One more thing she called out already, moving like the house belonged to her. Evan wants the ring back. The one from his grandmother. Family heirloom. He shouldn't have wasted it on you. My chest went tight again, not because of romance, because of principle. Because that ring had sat on my finger through deployments and holidays and hospital waiting rooms, and now it was being treated like a loan that had gone into default. It's in the safe, I said automatically. Brielle stopped at the top step and looked down at me like I'd just confirmed her power. Perfect, she said. He knows the code. Then she went into my bedroom like she'd paid the mortgage herself. I stood there in my kitchen phone in hand, and for a second, I didn't move at all. The only sound was her footsteps upstairs, and the faint buzz of my calendar reminder going off again, telling me to leave for my appointment. Like my life hadn't just gotten hijacked before sunrise. I climbed the stairs 2 at a time, not because I was brave, but because if I waited another second, I might do something dramatic, like cry or throw a coffee mug, and I didn't have the energy to clean up my own breakdown. Brielle was in my bedroom with my safe open. Not cracked, not forced, open. She had the little black ring box in her hand, like she was holding evidence in court, and she didn't even look guilty. She looked satisfied. See, she said, lifting the ring between 2 fingers. Still fits, still pretty. It just needs disinfecting. My hands clenched so hard, my nails bit into my palms. That's not yours, I said. It's not yours either, she shot back, turning toward the dresser like she was about to look for more things to claim. It's family, and you're not family anymore. I heard my phone buzz downstairs. Another reminder. Tree care. Then work. My body wanted to freeze. My brain wanted to argue. My Navy side, the part of me that could stand in a room full of people and stay calm while a chief tore apart a bad plan took over. I stepped forward, put it down. Brielle gave me a pitying smile. Kayla, don't make this weird. Put it down, I repeated, and my voice didn't shake this time. She rolled her eyes and set the ring box on the dresser like she was doing me a favor by not stealing it in front of my face. Then she picked up her phone and tapped a screen. I already told Evan you're being difficult, she said. He said to remind you not to make this ugly. There it was again, that phrase. Like my dignity was a PR problem. My phone rang a second later. Evan. I stared at the caller ID. My heart did something pathetic, like it still wanted him to be the man I thought he was. Then I remembered Brielle in my bedroom with my safe open, holding my marriage like a joke. I answered what I said. Evan's voice sounded tired but not sorry. Brielle said you're freaking out. I'm not freaking out, I said. She used the spare key to come into the house. She opened my safe. He sighed like I was the inconvenience here. She's just picking up my stuff. She's picking up your stuff and insulting me, I said. She called me a pig. A pause. Not the kind where someone is shocked. The kind where someone is deciding how little they can say and still look decent. She didn't mean it like that, Evan finally said. I actually laughed one sharp little sound that surprised me. How else do you mean, pig, Evan? Kayla, he said, warning tone now. Don't do this. Don't do what I asked. Tell the truth. Another sigh. Look, I have a meeting. Brielle will handle the ring. Just leave it in the box. I'll deal with it later. Why does your sister have access to my safe code? I asked. She doesn't, he snapped. I do. It's my grandmother's ring. My throat tightened again, but I kept my voice level. It was on my hand for 8 years. Yeah, he said, and his voice went flat. And now it won't be. Then he said the line like he'd rehearsed it. Don't make this ugly. He hung up. I stood there with the phone to my ear, hearing nothing but my own breathing. Brielle watched me like she was waiting for me to collapse. When I didn't, her face twisted with annoyance. You see, she said, he's done. So stop acting like you still get a vote. I looked at her, really looked. Perfect hair, perfect lip gloss, perfect cruelty at 8 in the morning. And I realized something that should have been obvious. Brielle didn't come here for the ring or the golf clubs. She came here to make sure I understood I'd been replaced. I walked past her without touching her, grabbed the ring box off my dresser, and closed the safe. You're leaving, I said. Brielle scoffed. No, I'm not. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I walked downstairs, grabbed my keys, and went straight to the front door. Then I did something I should have done 5 minutes ago. I opened it and held it wide. Brielle stared at me, offended. Are you serious right now? Out, I said. She took her time gathering her purse, like she was making sure I felt every second. She picked up the golf bag from the entryway and dragged it outside. Then she turned back with that same smile. Just so you know, she said Evan's lawyer will be reaching out. He's not trying to screw you over. He's trying to end things clean. Clean, like I was the mess. I didn't respond. I watched her walk to her car, load the clubs, and drive away, like she'd completed a task list. The second her taillights disappeared, I locked the door. Then I locked it again, like that would make it more locked. I stood there for one beat with my hand on the deadbolt, and my whole body started shaking. Not a sobbing breakdown. More like my system was dumping adrenaline because it finally had permission. I opened my notes app and typed 0704 Evan phone call. Confirms Brielle will handle the ring. Says don't make this ugly. No denial of insult, only didn't mean it. Then I walked into the kitchen, set the ring box on the counter, and stared at it like it was radioactive. My phone buzzed again. Trick hair follow-up. I glanced at the clock. I was already cutting it close. I grabbed my uniform top, pulled on jeans, and headed out the door. My throat hurt from swallowing everything I wanted to say, but I kept moving, because that's what you do in the Navy. You move even when you don't feel steady. The clinic waiting room smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. A couple of retirees sat flipping through magazines. A young mom bounced a toddler on her knee. I checked in, sat down, and tried to focus on anything besides the fact that my marriage had just been repossessed by my sister-in-law. When the nurse called my name, I followed her back and sat on the paper-covered table. She checked my blood pressure, asked if I'd been taking my meds, asked about side effects. I answered automatically. The doctor came in, glanced at my chart, and asked how my energy was. Fine, I said. He looked at me over his glasses, like he'd heard that lie 1,000 times. Fine like you're managing? Or fine like you're trying not to fall apart? My jaw tightened. Didn't want to talk about Evan. I didn't want to talk about Brielle. I didn't want to give anyone access to my humiliation. I'm managing, I said. He nodded and made a note. Your incision looks good. Voice should keep improving. Hormone levels can take time to stabilize, so don't be surprised if you feel off some days. That's not weakness. That's biology. Biology, yeah. Tell that to Brielle. The doctor finished the exam and handed me updated instructions. Keep taking the meds. Follow up in a few weeks. Light duty still appropriate. I walked out with a stack of papers and a throat full of words I didn't say. In the parking lot, I sat in my car for a second and opened my banking app. Not because I wanted to, but because something in Brielle's tone kept replaying in my head. Evan paid for this place. I scrolled through recent transactions. Mortgage. Utilities. My paycheck deposit. His paycheck deposit. Everything looked normal at first glance. Then I noticed something small. A change of address confirmation email in my inbox timestamped 2 days ago. My stomach dropped. I clicked it and read it twice, like it might change if I stared hard enough. It didn't. Someone had updated the mailing address on one of our joint accounts. To Heather's house, Brielle's mom. I stared at the screen until it blurred. Then I took a screenshot and saved it to a folder I'd just created on my phone. Divorce documents. I started the car and drove to work with my hands at 10 and 2, gripping the wheel like it was the only solid thing left. At the gate, I showed my ID got waved through and parked in my usual spot. The building looked the same. The flags were the same. The world didn't care that Brielle had called me a pig in my own doorway. Inside, I logged on and opened my email, telling myself I was going to focus on supply requests and reports and the simple comfort of tasks that had rules. Then a new message popped up. No name, no signature, just a subject line that made my scalp prickle. Concern. And my cursor hovered over it, like my hand didn't want to be the one to open the next thing that tried to define me. My finger clicked the mouse before my brain could talk me out of it. The email opened with the kind of fake politeness that always means someone's about to throw you under a bus while smiling. I'm reaching out because I'm concerned about PO1 Kayla Mercer's current state. Recent events in her personal life may be affecting her readiness and reliability. I stopped breathing for a second. No rank, no return number, no official routing, just enough military-ish wording to sound legit to someone who didn't know better. I scrolled. It mentioned emotional instability. It mentioned financial stress. It mentioned that I'd recently been dealing with medical issues like my health was gossip instead of protected information. It didn't accuse me of anything specific. It didn't need to. It planted a picture. A weak sailor. A distracted sailor. A problem waiting to happen. My jaw locked so hard my teeth hurt. I didn't reply. I didn't forward it to 5 people. I didn't go storming into the admin office. I took a screenshot. Saved it. Then I clicked print because paper doesn't mysteriously disappear the way emails can. My phone buzzed. A text from Brielle. Hope you're not doing anything stupid today. Evan wants this clean. I stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. I didn't answer. I opened my notes app instead. 0838. Anonymous concern email received. Mentions readiness, stability, finances. Medical. No signature. Screenshot saved. Printed. Then I did the most boring thing on earth. I got back to work. I processed a supply request. Updated a tracking sheet. Answered a call. My hands still felt shaky, but my brain had latched onto routine like a life raft. The Navy has rules. Emails have headers. Requests have forms. People like Brielle live in vibes and intimidation. Around 10:15, my phone rang again. This time it wasn't Evan, it was my chief. Chief Dana Rios didn't call people for fun. She called when something mattered. Mercer, she said, no greeting. You good? Her voice wasn't harsh. It was direct. That was her version of caring. Yes, Chief, I said. And I knew immediately that wasn't good enough. There was a pause. Come see me. I stood up and walked to her office, trying to keep my face neutral. I wasn't in trouble. Not yet. But I could feel that email spreading like smoke, even if it hadn't reached everyone. Chief Rios's door was half open. I knocked once and stepped in. She sat behind her desk with a folder in front of her and my printed email on top, like she'd been expecting me. Close the door, she said. I did. Chief looked at me for a long beat, the way leaders do when they're deciding what kind of conversation this is going to be. Professional, supportive, both. Then she tapped the paper. You know about this. Yes, Chief, I said. It hit my inbox this morning. You recognize who wrote it, she asked. No signature, I said. But I have a guess. Chief leaned back in her chair. Your guess better be grounded. It's my sister-in-law, I said. My husband moved out last night. She showed up this morning. She's been escalating. I didn't give her the messy, emotional version. I gave her the clean version. The version with facts. Chief nodded once. Good. You're talking like a sailor and not like someone on daytime TV? I almost smiled. Almost. Chief's eyes narrowed. Let's be clear. This isn't an investigation. This is a check-in because someone dropped a concern bomb in the command's lap. Yes, Chief. She slid the paper closer to me. This email is vague on purpose. It's designed to make us nervous without giving us anything we can actually act on. That's classic. I swallowed. Am I in trouble? Are you late? Are you failing tasks? Are you unsafe? She asked. No, Chief. Are you on limited duty? She asked. Yes, Chief, for recovery from surgery. Is your chain aware? She asked. Yes, Chief. I provided the paperwork when I returned from convalescent leave. My LPO has my LIMDU limitations. Chief stared at me like she was making sure I meant it. Then she nodded. Good. She grabbed a pen and made a note. Here's what we're going to do. You keep your work tight. You keep your attitude professional. You keep your personal life off the deck. And you document everything. I've been documenting, I said. Chief's eyebrows lifted. How? I pulled my phone out, opened my notes app, and showed her the entries without scrolling like I was begging. Just facts, dates, quotes, actions. Chief read for about 10 seconds and nodded again. That's what I like to see. You're building a timeline. That's grown-up behavior. I exhaled slowly, like I'd been holding my breath since 06:45. Chief handed the paper back to me. Now here's the other thing. If your family tries contacting the command directly again, they're going to learn a lesson the hard way. We don't play that. Yes, Chief. She paused. Mercer. I don't care about your divorce. I care about whether it affects your performance. Right now, you're sitting here calm and you're telling me you're under medical management and still doing your job. That's all I need. My throat tightened a little. Not from sadness, from the strange relief of being believed without having to perform suffering. Chief waved a hand. Go back to work. But if anything changes, you come to me before it becomes a rumor. Aye, Chief. I left her office and walked back to my desk, feeling like someone had tightened the bolts on my spine. Then my email pinged again. Another message, different address, same energy. This one wasn't to me. It was to the command's general admin inbox. Subject line, private concern regarding PO1 Mercer. My blood ran cold. I clicked it already knowing. This time it was signed. Not a full signature block, but a name. Brielle Mercer. Of course. It was written like she was doing the Navy a favor. As a family member, I feel obligated. She has been under tremendous stress. I'm worried she may be struggling. It mentioned my medical recovery again. It hinted at emotional volatility. It suggested someone check on her. It didn't say pig. It didn't say anything that could get her in real trouble. It was clean sabotage. My phone buzzed again. A message from Evan. Brielle said you're making her feel unsafe. Don't turn this into a circus. I stared at that line. Making her feel unsafe. The woman who broke into my house with a key and called me a pig. My first instinct was to type a response that would get me featured in a Navy training video titled, How to Ruin Your Own Career in 30 Seconds. Instead, I opened my notes app. 1122. Brielle emailed command admin inbox with private concern. Mentions medical recovery stress volatility. Evan texts making her feel unsafe. Screenshot saved. I forwarded both emails to myself, then printed the second one too. Paper trail. Chief's words echoed in my head, grown-up behavior. I stood up and walked to YN2 Priya Nair's desk. Priya was the kind of person who could make any admin problem disappear, because she knew exactly which form to file and which person to call. She looked up when I approached, eyes sharp. What's up? She asked. I need a favor, I said. Priya swiveled her chair slightly, already in work mode. If you're about to ask me to forge a passport number, I blinked, then a laugh slipped out. It was quick, surprised. It felt good to laugh at anything. No, I said. I need help documenting something that's touching the command. Priya's expression changed, instantly serious, but not panicked. Show me! I handed her my phone and let her read the emails. She read them fast, then looked up with that calm, deadly stare that admin people develop after years of nonsense. This is sloppy, she said. Not the writing. The approach. Family emailing the command. That's weird. That's my sister-in-law, I said. Priya handed my phone back. Okay. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to save everything as PDF. You're going to keep a timeline. You're going to send it to your chief in one clean packet. No emotion, just facts. I can do that, I said. And you're going to update your page to emergency contact if your husband is still listed, she added. My stomach dropped. I hadn't even thought about that. I'll do it today, I said. Priya nodded. Good. Also check your mailing address and any joint accounts. People who write concern emails sometimes do other dumb stuff. I felt my face go hot again, not from shame this time, but from the realization that Brielle wasn't just trying to hurt my feelings. She was trying to create a record. A record that said unstable. I walked back to my desk, opened my file folder, and started dropping screenshots in like I was building a case file. Because I was. My phone vibrated again. Another message from Brielle. I'm just trying to protect my brother. You wouldn't understand family loyalty. I didn't respond. I opened my settings and turned on two-factor authentication for anything that didn't already have it. Then I requested a full account activity log from the joint bank portal and saved the confirmation. I took a breath long and controlled and stared at the empty space on my desk where Evan's framed photo used to sit. I'd put it away that morning without thinking, like my hands already knew what my heart hadn't caught up to. A calendar notification popped up on my screen. EVAL input deadline approaching. I stared at it for a beat, then clicked it away, and kept working, because my career wasn't a side character in Brielle's family drama, no matter how hard she tried to make it one. And when my lunch break hit, I didn't go to the galley. I opened my contacts, scrolled past names I hadn't called in years, and stopped on one that Evan used to complain about every time she came up. Tasha Monroe. My thumb hovered over call, and I hit it before I could talk myself out of choosing the one person Evan always said was a bad influence. I pressed the phone to my ear and stared at my computer screen like it could keep me steady. It rang once, twice. Then Tasha picked up like she'd been waiting 2 years for me to remember I had a spine. "Kayla," she said, "is this a butt dial or are you finally free?" I let out a breath that sounded like a laugh, and a sob tried to sneak in behind it. I swallowed it down. "It's me," I said. "I need 5 minutes. Make it 10, she said. "Talk." I walked outside the building so I wouldn't have to keep my voice low. The winter air slapped my face, and I welcomed it. Anything that felt real. My husband moved out last night, I said straight to it. And this morning, my sister-in-law showed up, called me a pig. Opened my safe, tried to take the ring, and then emailed my command pretending she was concerned about me. There was a pause on the line. Not disbelief, calculation. Then Tasha said, "Okay. First question, did your husband ever defend you from her?" I blinked. "What?" "Answer it," she said. "Did he ever tell Brielle to stop? Did he ever put her in her place? Did he ever say, 'You don't talk to my wife like that'?" My mouth opened and nothing came out. I tried to pull up a memory like it was a file on a server. The file wasn't there. "He didn't like conflict," I said, which was what I'd always said. Tasha made a sound. Not quite a laugh. More like disgust wearing lipstick. "That's a nice way to say he let his sister treat you like trash." "I don't think he wanted her to," I started. "Kayla," she cut in, voice sharper now. "A man who loves you doesn't accidentally allow someone to humiliate you. He either stops it or he benefits from it." That hit me in the chest harder than Brielle's insult did. Because Brielle was easy to hate. Evan was harder. Evan was the person I'd built my whole life around. "Tasha." "I'm at work," I said, like that mattered. Like my location would protect me from reality. "Good," she said. "Then you can stay logical. Tell me what happened. Clean timeline." So I did. I told her about the spare key, the safe code, the ring box on my dresser, the dating profile, the phrase "don't make this ugly," the change of address email pointing to Heather's house, the anonymous concern email, Brielle emailing my command like she was running my career. Tasha didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. "So he didn't just leave, he outsourced the cruelty." That sentence sat there between us like a truth with no place to hide. "He held my hand during appointments," I said, because part of me needed to say it out loud. "He told me I was beautiful." "Did he say that to Brielle?" Tasha asked. "Or did he say something different when you weren't there?" My throat tightened. "I don't know." Tasha's voice softened just a little. "Kayla, you're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're not unstable. You're a person recovering from surgery whose husband bailed and sent his sister to do the dirty work." I swallowed. She used my medical stuff like a weapon. "Of course she did," Tasha said. "Because it's the easiest angle. Make you sound fragile, make you sound unreliable, make you sound like a problem. People like Brielle don't fight fair. They fight for control." I leaned against the cold brick wall outside the building and stared at nothing. "What do?" I asked. Tasha didn't hesitate. "You already started. You documented. You looped your chief. You got Priya involved, Ace. Now you keep it clean. And you call base legal." "I did," I said. "I have an appointment tomorrow." "Good," she said. "And you stopped talking to Evan directly. Everything goes through writing or counsel." I nodded like she could see it. Then she asked another question that made my stomach flip. "Do you have access to your own money right now?" "Yes," I said. "Mostly. We have a joint account, but my paycheck still goes into my personal checking." "Check that," she said. "Today. And change passwords. And update your emergency contact. Your husband's family is already crossing lines. They'll cross more." I stared at my phone screen. The call timer kept ticking like time was passing whether I wanted it to or not. Tasha, I said quietly, I feel stupid. No, she snapped. You feel trained. What? You were trained to keep the peace, she said. To be agreeable. To not cause drama. To accept crumbs and call it love. That's not stupidity. That's conditioning. I shut my eyes for a second. She was saying words I'd never let myself say. I thought if I stayed calm, if I stayed grateful, he'd stay, I admitted. Tasha's voice turned sharp again. He stayed because it was comfortable for him. And now that it's not, he's gone. That's not on you. My phone buzzed with another message while she was still talking. I pulled it away and glanced. From Evan. Why are you running to your command? Stop making this bigger. I stared at that sentence until my vision narrowed. I didn't run to my command, I said out loud, even though I wasn't answering him. Your sister emailed them. Tasha heard the shift in my voice. What did he say? I told her. Tasha laughed, and it was not warm. He's trying to flip it. Classic. Make you the problem for reacting to what they did. I swallowed. I can't believe he's doing this. Yes, you can, she said. You just haven't allowed yourself to say it. My throat hurt again, but this time it wasn't from swallowing tears. It was from swallowing the urge to confront Evan right now and demand he admit the truth. Don't text him back, Tasha said like she was reading my mind. Not emotional, not long. If you have to respond, do it in one line. All communication through counsel. But honestly, let your lawyer do it. I'm trying, I said. Good, she said. Also, one more thing. What? You're in the Navy, she said. You know what a log is. You know what documentation does. People can lie all day until you show them a timeline with receipts. I let out a breath. Yeah. And Kayla, she added. If you need me, I'm not going anywhere. Unlike your husband. That one landed. Didn't make me cry. It made me angry in a clean, focused way. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me, she said. Use me. And stop letting people shame you for surviving. I hung up and stood there in the cold for a second, letting the air cool my face. Then I walked back inside. At my desk, I didn't open Evan's text again. I didn't reply to Brielle. I didn't check the dating profile. I opened my divorce documents folder and added the latest screenshots. Then I opened the notes from my medical appointment and scanned the line that said limited duty appropriate. I didn't need it for court. Not yet. I needed it because Brielle was trying to turn my recovery into a character flaw, and I wasn't going to let her. My inbox pinged again. A new email from Brielle, this time to me directly. Subject, we need to talk like adults. I clicked it. The message was short. Kayla, you need to accept that Evan is moving on. The sooner you cooperate, the easier this will be. Also, please stop acting unstable at work. People are noticing. I'm trying to help you. I stared at the screen, jaw tight. She wasn't just insulting me in private. She was building a narrative in writing. Unstable. Difficult. Uncooperative. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to myself as a PDF and saved it. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened my bank app and clicked into account settings. Because if someone was already changing addresses on joint accounts and emailing my command, I wasn't going to sit there like a polite idiot and hope it stopped. I went through the settings one by one. Login history, contact info, linked emails, recovery, phone numbers. And I found another change. My recovery email had been switched to an address I didn't recognize at first. Then it clicked. Heather's. My hand went cold on the mouse. I took a screenshot so fast my finger slipped. Then I pulled up the account activity log request Priya told me to make and watched it load. There were logins I didn't recognize. Not dozens. Just enough to prove someone else had been in my life without permission. My phone buzzed again, and this time it wasn't a message. It was a calendar reminder for my appointment the next day. Legal Assistance 0900. I stared at it, then opened my notes app and typed one more line under today's entries. Action, change passwords now. Lockdown access. Emergency contact update. Print everything. I didn't feel sad anymore. Not in that moment. I felt the kind of focused anger that makes you organize paperwork like it's a weapon and treat every click like it matters because it does. I changed my password so fast my fingers cramped, then drove home after work with my phone sitting on the passenger seat like it might bite me. The house felt different now. Not haunted, just exposed. Like every room had been walked through by someone who hated me. First thing I did was take the spare key off the hook by the garage door and drop it into a drawer. Then, I wrote myself a note in Sharpie on a sticky pad and slapped it on the inside of the cabinet where I kept my meds. Change locks. Then I sat at my kitchen table and built a clean folder system on my laptop because anger is easier to handle when it's organized. Divorce docs, divorce banking, divorce command emails, divorce medical costs, high-level divorce timeline. I didn't add dramatic descriptions, just dates and files. Screenshot _ change of address, _010, PDF, _Brielle, concern email, text _Evan, don't make this ugly. At 700 the next morning, I put on my uniform and drove to base legal assistance, with my throat still scratchy and my brain feeling like it was running on fumes. I checked in at the front desk and sat in a row of chairs next to a guy in dress blues who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The TV in the corner played muted news. Nobody made eye contact. It was comforting in a weird way. Everyone here had a problem they didn't want to have. When they called my name, I followed a petty officer into a small office and met Lieutenant Jody Markham. She looked like the kind of officer who never lost her keys and never let anyone waste her time. Neat bun, sharp eyes, calm voice. P.O. "One Mercer," she said, glancing at my intake sheet. "You're here about a divorce. Tell me what's happening, but keep it tight." I nodded and did exactly that. I gave her the timeline. Husband moved out, sister-in-law trespassed with a spare key, attempted to take property, accessed the safe using a code she shouldn't have had, and then sent concern emails to my command implying I wasn't fit. I handed her a folder with printed emails and screenshots. Lieutenant Markham scanned the first page, then the second. Her expression didn't change much, but her jaw tightened slightly. "Did she ever threaten you directly?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "She implied she'd keep contacting my command. She also said she was trying to help while calling me unstable." "Okay," she said. "And your husband?" "He keeps saying, 'Don't make this ugly,'" I said. "He's letting her do it." L.T. Markham set the pages down. "Here's what I can do and what I can't do. Legal assistants can advise you and help with certain letters, but we don't represent you in civilian court. For the divorce itself, you need a civilian attorney." "I figured," I said. "Good," she replied. "Now, practical steps. 1. Stop communicating with him verbally. If you must communicate, do it in writing and keep it short. 2. Secure your accounts. If your recovery email was changed, treat that like a breach. 3. Change your locks. 4th, update your page to emergency data if he's listed. That's not petty, that's risk management." Hearing it, framed like risk management, made my shoulders drop a fraction. It wasn't drama, it was safety. L. To Markham continued. "Now the command piece. Family contacting your chain is inappropriate. You're already doing the right thing by giving your chief the facts. If Brielle contacts the command again, document it and notify your chief. Do not respond emotionally. Do not argue. Let leadership handle it." "Yes, ma'am." She tapped the printouts. "This is good, clean, time-stamped. Keep doing this." Then she looked at me like she'd finally decided to be human for 2 seconds. "Also, I'm sorry someone said those things to you. Your medical recovery is not anyone's business." My throat tightened, but I kept my face neutral. "Thank you, L." Markham slid a business card across the desk. "This is a local divorce attorney, Marissa Lyle. She's worked with service members and understands medical hardship arguments. I can't endorse her formally, but I can tell you she knows what she's doing." I took the card like it was ammo. 2 hours later, I sat in a small office off Granby Street wearing my uniform because I didn't have time to change, and Marissa Lyle shook my hand. She was in her late 30s, maybe early 40s. Dark hair, practical blazer, no fake warmth, just competence. "Kayla," she said, "I read your intake. Let's get straight to it. How long were you married?" 8 years. "Kids?" "No." "House?" she asked. "Yes, both names." "Good," she said, like that mattered in a specific way. "Before we talk feelings, we talk facts. Who paid what?" I blinked. That was the first time someone had asked it that directly. "I paid half the mortgage and bills for most of the marriage," I said. "When I got diagnosed and had surgery, I had a short recovery leave, then came back on limited duty. My income didn't stop completely, but I had a lot of medical costs. I used my savings." Marissa nodded and wrote fast. "Do you have proof?" "Yes," I said. "I keep bank statements." Her eyes lifted. "Of course you do." I almost smiled. "I'm admin." "That explains it," she said dryly. "Okay, medical costs. Do you have receipts?" Co-pays, prescriptions, out-of-pocket expenses. Yes, good. Now your husband's side is going to claim you contributed nothing. That's standard. They'll use the period you were recovering as if it defines the whole marriage. I swallowed. His sister already said exactly that. Marissa's pen paused. His sister is emailing your command? Yes, I said. She used my recovery as a reason to call me unstable. Marissa's expression sharpened. That's not smart. What do you mean, I asked. It means she's putting harassment in writing, Marissa said. And your husband is allowing it. Judges don't like that. Mediators don't like that. And if we need to, we can use it to show intimidation. She leaned forward slightly. Kayla, listen. I'm not going to promise a perfect outcome. But I can promise you this, if you have documentation, we can tell a clean story. I nodded. I started a timeline. Good, she said. Now we'll do it properly. We'll build an exhibit packet, financial contributions, medical hardship communication, showing intimidation, and proof of the attempted account takeover. My stomach clenched. Is that identity theft? Marissa shrugged. Maybe. Maybe it's just unauthorized access. Either way, it's serious. We'll send notice to the bank and start locking things down. She slid a form across the desk. Also, we're going to set boundaries. All communications go through a counsel. Your husband doesn't get to send his sister to bully you while pretending he's keeping it clean. I signed the retainer agreement with a hand that still shook a little. When I walked out, my phone vibrated. A new email. From a name I didn't recognize. Jeremiah Bender, attorney at law. Subject: demand for immediate vacate. I stopped walking in the middle of the sidewalk and opened it. The letter was aggressive, like someone had written it while clenching their jaw. It claimed I had no right to remain in the marital home. It demanded I vacate within 10 days. It claimed Evan had paid the mortgage alone. It suggested I was trying to take advantage of his generosity. It hinted at dragging things out if I didn't comply. I read it twice, then a third time, just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. My hands started shaking again, but this time it wasn't helpless shaking. It was adrenaline mixed with disbelief. I walked back into Marissa's office without an appointment and handed my phone to the receptionist like it was urgent. I just got this. She disappeared into the back. 2 minutes later, Marissa came out, took my phone, read the letter, and God help me laughed. Not a cute laugh. A "these idiots just made my job easier" laugh. She looked up at me. This is intimidation. It's also sloppy. Sloppy, I repeated. Marissa handed the phone back. He claims you contributed nothing. If you have statements showing you paid half for years, he just lied in writing. That's a gift. I stared at her. So I don't have to leave? No, she said. Not because he sent a scary email. We handle this through proper process. He doesn't get to evict you by vibe. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Marissa tapped the screen once more. Forward that to me. And do not respond to him. I won't, I said. Good, she replied. Now go home, change your locks today, and send me every document you have. We're going to respond the right way. I drove straight to a locksmith on my lunch break and paid more than I wanted to, because peace costs money sometimes. By late afternoon, the locks were changed. The spare key was mine again, and when I sat back at my kitchen table, I opened my laptop and started attaching files one after another until my email looked like a war plan made of PDFs. As the uploads crawled across the screen, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Brielle. Evan said you hired a lawyer. That's a bad look. I stared at it, then typed one line and hit send before my emotions could argue. All communication through counsel. Then I blocked the number and went back to my laptop, watching the progress bar fill up like it was the first honest thing that had happened in days. I clicked send on the email to Marissa and watched the attachments spin like they were lifting weight for me. Then I looked around my kitchen and realized I'd turned it into a command post without even trying. Laptop open, printer humming. A stack of envelopes, bank statements, and clinic invoices spread across the table like I was preparing a brief, which apparently I was. Marissa called that evening. Kayla, I got your files, she said. You weren't kidding about being organized. I'm Navy admin, I told her. Organization is the only personality trait I'm allowed. She laughed once. Good. Because this is how we win. Not with speeches. With documentation. I didn't say win. I wasn't thinking about revenge in a movie sense. I was thinking about not getting steamrolled by a family that treated cruelty like a hobby. Marissa's voice stayed calm. Tomorrow I want you to pull full statements from the beginning of your marriage if you can. Mortgage payments, utilities, insurance, anything showing contributions. Then make a simple spreadsheet, month amount, who paid. A spreadsheet, I repeated, almost relieved. That was familiar territory. Also, she added, pull anything tied to medical costs. Not your private medical records. Just the financial impact, copays, prescriptions, out-of-pocket bills, any savings withdrawals. We're building hardship and contribution. I can do that. And Kayla, she said, her voice shifting slightly, if you have any texts or emails showing intimidation, especially anything that paints you as unstable, save those. I looked down at my phone like it was listening. Yeah, I have those. Send them when you can, she said. Then get some sleep. Sleep. Funny. After I hung up, I went to the garage and dug out the plastic bin labeled taxes and mortgage that Evan used to complain about every time we moved anything. I dragged it inside, dropped it next to the table, and snapped the lid open. Statements, receipts, closing documents, old bills in neat little piles, because I'm the kind of person who files things and then feels annoyed at myself for being right later. I sat down and started sorting by year. The pattern showed up fast. For the first 7 years, it was almost boring. Mortgage split, utilities split, groceries split, insurance split, home repairs split. I didn't help. I contributed, consistently. Then came my diagnosis and surgery. Everything didn't fall apart. It just shifted. My pay didn't vanish, but my expenses exploded. Copays, labs, imaging, prescriptions, follow-ups. The bills that TRICARE didn't fully cover came in like they had personal beef with me. My savings account showed withdrawal after withdrawal, each one like a little punch. I printed the savings withdrawals and lined them up on the table. $1,200, $870, $3,400, $650. Not random spending. Not shopping sprees. Healthcare. Meanwhile, Evan's account stayed stable. That part almost made me laugh. Of course it did. He didn't cancel his gym membership. He didn't downsize the car payment. He didn't sell the golf clubs he never used. He just got resentful that my body was inconvenient. I opened my laptop and started the spreadsheet Marissa asked for. Month, mortgage, utilities, who paid, notes. It was tedious and satisfying at the same time. Every line was a quiet no to Brielle's narrative. At midnight, my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but the preview line made my stomach drop. From Brielle Mercer. Subject, you're making this worse. I didn't open it on my phone. I opened it on my laptop because screenshots are cleaner that way. The email read like she was a disappointed teacher. Kayla, hiring a lawyer is extreme. Evan wanted to keep this respectful. But you're escalating and acting unstable. People at the command are already noticing. I'm trying to protect Evan, and honestly, I'm trying to protect you from embarrassing yourself. I stared at the word unstable. Then I scrolled down. She'd attached something. A screenshot of my all communication through counsel text to her, like it proved I was crazy for setting a boundary. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to Marissa and saved it as a PDF. Then my phone buzzed again. A text from Evan. Why are you doing this? You're making everyone uncomfortable. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed one line. All communication through counsel. And I blocked him too. Blocking my husband felt surreal. Like cutting a rope I'd been holding for 8 years. But the minute the blocked confirmation appeared, something in my chest unclenched. The next morning at work, I kept my routine tight. Light duty, desk tasks, no wandering, no gossip. Chief Rios called me into her office after lunch. Priya was there too, sitting in the chair by the wall with a notepad like she was about to annotate my life. Chief held up a printed email. This came in today. I didn't have to ask which one. Brielle's fingerprints were all over the tone. Chief read out loud because she didn't believe in drama by whisper. I'm worried PO1 Mercer is behaving erratically. She's refusing family communication and threatening legal action. I'm concerned about her mental state. Chief stopped reading and looked at me. You threatened legal action. No, Chief, I said. I hired a lawyer. I told them all communications go through counsel. That's it. Priya spoke up, which is normal. Chief nodded once. Correct. Then she leaned forward. Mercer, you're doing your job. Your medical status is already documented in your official paperwork. Anyone trying to weaponize it can go kick rocks. I kept my face neutral, but inside I was quietly grateful. Chief tapped the email. Here's what I'm doing. I'm documenting that this is external family drama, attempting to interfere with command operations. I'm also telling admin to stop entertaining random emails from civilians about your mental state. Thank you, Chief, I said. Chief pointed a pen at me. But you still need to stay clean. No outbursts, no social media fights, no parking lot confrontations. You let them hang themselves with their own words. Priya nodded like she approved. Facts only. Yes, Chief, I said. Chief's voice softened by about 2 degrees. How are you holding up medically? That question could have cracked me open if she'd asked it differently. But she asked it like a leader checking readiness, not like someone fishing for weakness. I'm stable, I said. Hormone levels are still adjusting. Some days I'm tired. But I'm following the plan. I'm not missing work beyond scheduled appointments. Chief nodded. Good, keep it that way. I walked out of her office and went straight back to my desk. But the second I sat down, my computer pinged with a new message. Not from Brielle, from an unknown email address. Subject FYI, your husband's been talking. My blood went cold in a new way. I opened it carefully. It was short. I thought you should know Evan has been telling people you're a burden and too much, and that he stayed out of guilt. He's been saying it like a joke. It's not a good look. No signature, no name, no way to verify. But my stomach still twisted because it matched the pattern. It fit too well. I didn't forward it. Not yet. I saved it. Then I pulled up my bank portal again because Priya's voice in my head was annoying, and correct people who email commands also do other dumb stuff. I opened statements and scrolled to the joint account. There was a charge I didn't recognize. A small one. Not enough to trigger an alert unless you were looking. $29.99 address change service. My throat tightened. I clicked into it and found the vendor details. A subscription service that managed mail forwarding and paperless settings. Something you'd use if you were trying to quietly reroute statements without raising flags. My hand went cold on the mouse. I took a screenshot and saved it. Then I requested a full audit log again and watched it populate. More logins, more updates. Not enough to drain accounts overnight. Enough to build a trap. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling for one beat, letting anger settle into something usable. At 1600, I walked over to Priya's desk with my phone in my hand. She looked up and saw my face. What now? I set my phone down and showed her the subscription charge. Priya's eyes narrowed. Oh, they're doing the paperless thing. Yeah, I said. Priya's mouth twisted like she was offended on principle. Okay. We're locking everything down today, and you're going to request official account notes from the bank. That's a thing. People forget it's a thing. I nodded. Marisa said the same. Priya tapped her pen on the desk. Good. Because this isn't just family drama anymore. This is someone trying to control your records. I breathed out slowly. Let's do it, I said. And when I walked back to my desk, my phone buzzed with a new message from an unblocked number. Brielle again somehow. You can't hide behind lawyers forever. People know what you are. I stared at it, then opened my notes app and typed one more line because receipts don't get tired, and neither did I. I screenshotted Brielle's last text, filed it, and then did the most petty responsible thing I could think of. I updated my page too. Sitting at my desk in admin, I pulled up the form, stared at the emergency contact section, and deleted Evan's name like it was a typo I should have fixed years ago. I replaced it with my sister back home and my best friend Tasha as secondary. Then I hit submit and felt a weird sense of relief, like my life finally belonged to me on paper too. Priya leaned over my shoulder. Good, she said. Nothing says we're done. Like removing somebody from your emergency contact. I wish it didn't feel this satisfying, I said. Priya shrugged. Satisfying is fine. Just don't post about it. I didn't laugh, but I wanted to. That afternoon, Marissa called. I spoke with Jeremiah Bender, she said. He's already backing off the vacate immediately nonsense. Because he realized it was ridiculous, I asked. Because he realized we have statements, she said. Also because Evan can't afford a drawn-out war. Lawyers are expensive. And intimidation letters don't pay their own fees. I didn't say what I was thinking. Evan always paid for things until they got uncomfortable. Then he wanted someone else to cover the cost. Apparently, that included the consequences of leaving. Marissa continued, they're requesting mediation. I stared at my computer screen. Mediation already? Yes, she said. It's common. Especially when one side doesn't want a judge looking too closely at their behavior. Do we agree? I asked. We go, Marissa said. We go prepared, we go clean, and we go with boundaries. She told me the date and time. Next Thursday, downtown. Conference room, neutral mediator. Then she said, Kayla, I need one thing from you, a one-page summary. A summary of what I asked, even though I knew. Your story, she said. Not the emotional part, the factual part. Marriage length, contributions, medical hardship, timeline of intimidation, and the limited duty piece, very high level. No private health details. Just the fact that you had convalescent leave, then returned on limited duty as directed. That matters because it shows you stayed functional and responsible. I nodded. I can do that. Good, she said. And I want you to think about what you'll accept in a settlement. Not what's fair in an abstract way. What gets you free? Free. That word hit different than win. After the call, I opened a blank document and typed the header. Mediation summary. O1. Kayla Mercer. Then I paused because my phone buzzed with a new email notification. From Brielle. Subject final attempt to keep this civil. I didn't open it immediately. I took a breath first because I'd learned something in the last week. People like Brielle loved catching you raw. Then I opened it. It was a masterpiece of fake concern. Kayla, everyone is worried about you. Your behavior lately has been erratic. You're isolating yourself and making threats. Evan has been incredibly patient, but you're forcing his hand. If you keep acting like this, it's going to affect more than just the divorce. I read that line twice. Affect more than just the divorce. That wasn't vague. That was a threat with good grammar. I forwarded it to Marissa and saved the PDF. Then I walked straight to Chief Rios's office because I was done playing defense alone. Chief looked up when I knocked. Mercer, I need 30 seconds, I said. Make it 20, she replied. But she motioned me in. I handed her a printed copy of Brielle's email. Chief scanned it, and her eyebrows lifted slightly. Wow! That's what I thought I said. Chief set it down. You want me to handle it? I want you to know she's escalating, I said. She's implying she'll keep targeting my command. Chief nodded once, the kind of nod that means someone just made themselves her problem. Okay, she said. You keep doing what you're doing. I'll have admin route anything from her directly to me. And if she contacts anyone else, we'll document it as harassment. Thank you, Chief, I said. Chief leaned forward. Mercer, you are not the first sailor to have messy family drama, but you are one of the few who didn't try to handle it with emotion. You handled it with paperwork. That's why you're still standing. I didn't respond because anything I said would have sounded too soft. Chief waved me out. Go. I went back to my desk, pulled up my mediation summary, and started filling it out like it was a report. Marriage 8 years. No children. Residence marital home, both names. Contributions 50-50 for 7 years. Documented transfers. Medical thyroid surgery, convalescent leave, returned on limited duty per medical. Hardship, out-of-pocket medical costs paid from personal savings. Harassment/intimidation. Unauthorized address changes, concern emails sent to command intimidation, letter to vacate. When I typed it like that, it looked almost boring, which was the point. Boring facts beat dramatic accusations. That evening, I got a draft settlement proposal from Jeremiah Bender. Marisa had warned me it would happen. It still made my stomach drop. It wasn't a proposal. It was an insult formatted as legal text. They offered me a tiny cash payout and demanded I waive any claim to the house equity. No reimbursement for medical expenses. No temporary support. No acknowledgement of years of contributions. It framed me like I was a dependent who should be grateful for leftovers. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Marissa called 5 minutes later. I saw it, she said, like she could hear my blood pressure through the phone. Don't react. Save it. We'll respond. They're acting like I did nothing, I said. They're acting like you won't fight back, she corrected. Different thing. I swallowed. What do? We counter, Marissa said. And we counter with numbers. Your spreadsheet is your sword. I almost laughed at that because it sounded like a motivational poster. But I got what she meant. We spent an hour on the phone refining the counter-proposal, a fair share of equity, based on contributions reimbursement for specific out-of-pocket medical costs and temporary spousal support for a short period, while I stabilized financially after treatment and the career disruption. No drama, Marisa reminded me. No moral speech, just math. When we hung up, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You look crazy dragging this out. Just sign. You're embarrassing yourself. I didn't need to guess who. Brielle wrote like she was always holding a glass of wine. I didn't answer. I saved it. Then I blocked that number too. Then my mom called. She wasn't dramatic. She didn't ask for gossip. She just said, "Are you okay?" I didn't want to put this on her, but I also didn't want to lie. I'm handling it, I said. Good, she replied. Handle it. That night, I printed my counterproposal and laid it next to my spreadsheet like they belonged together. Then I opened my closet and pulled out the only navy blue dress I owned that still fit my body without me fighting it. I held it up and stared at myself in the mirror. I didn't look like the woman in Evan's Fresh Start fantasies. I looked like someone who'd been through surgery stress and betrayal and still showed up to work on time. I set the dress on the back of a chair for the morning of mediation. Then I sat back down at the kitchen table and opened my divorce medical costs folder. Because if they wanted to pretend my recovery made me weak, I was going to show exactly what it cost me to stay functional while their son bailed. My phone lit up again with a new email notification from Brielle. Subject: one last thing. I didn't flinch this time. I clicked it, saved it, and kept my hands steady on the keyboard. I walked into the mediation building with my folder tucked under my arm and my dress zipped up like armor I didn't ask for. Marisa met me in the lobby, already holding a legal pad and a coffee like she'd been born in conference rooms. "You look good," she said, quick and practical. "Healthy. Present." "That matters. I feel like I'm going to throw up," I said. "Also normal," she replied. "Don't throw up on the mediator. That's bad optics." I snorted once and it helped. We rode the elevator up in silence, and I watched the numbers tick like they were counting down to something I couldn't stop. The conference room was bland on purpose. Beige walls, a long table, a pitcher of water that nobody ever drinks. The kind of room where people say life-changing things in the same tone they use to order lunch. Evan was already there with Jeremiah Bender. He didn't look at me right away. When he did, his eyes flicked up and away like my face was uncomfortable to acknowledge. He looked different than I expected. Not glow-up fresh start different, tired different, puffy. Like the version of him in the dating profile had been a lie too. Jeremiah stood when we entered. He had that aggressive smile thing lawyers do when they want you to think they're friendly while they sharpen a knife behind their back. Marisa didn't bother with friendliness. She shook his hand once, sat down, and opened her folder. The mediator introduced herself, Ms. Hollis, and went over the rules. No shouting. One person talks at a time. This is voluntary. Nobody is forced to agree. Evan kept his hands folded, staring at the table like it might rescue him. "Mr. Bender," the mediator said, "you can begin." Jeremiah launched in like he'd practiced in a mirror. He said Evan had paid for the house. He said I hadn't contributed. He said I was young and capable and should be able to support myself. He framed my medical recovery like it was an unfortunate inconvenience that shouldn't affect the financial reality. He never called me unstable out loud. He didn't need to. He implied it with words like emotional reaction and recent changes. I watched Evan while his lawyer talked. Evan didn't correct him. Of course he didn't. When Jeremiah finished, the mediator looked at Marisa, Ms. Lyle. Marisa spoke calmly, like she was ordering a sandwich. "We disagree with the narrative," she said, "and we have documentation." Then she opened our folder and started laying out papers like she was building a bridge over their lies. Bank statements. Years of them. Marisa pointed to a highlighted line. "Here are mortgage contributions from Kayla's account monthly for 7 years. 50%. She slid another page forward. Utilities. Same pattern. Another, property taxes. Another, home repairs. The mediator leaned in, reading. She wasn't impressed by emotion. She was impressed by numbers. Jeremiah tried to interrupt. "Those transfers could be..." Marisa cut him off with a calm hand. "They're consistent monthly and correspond to the mortgage due dates. They are exactly what they look like." The mediator turned to Jeremiah. "Do you dispute the authenticity of these statements?" Jeremiah hesitated. "We haven't had time to verify." The mediator's tone stayed neutral, but sharper. "You claimed she contributed nothing. That appears inaccurate." Evan shifted in his chair. His jaw tightened. He still didn't look at me. Marisa kept going. "Medical hardship," she said. "Not private health details. Financial impact." She slid over the stack of invoices and savings withdrawal records. "Out-of-pocket costs over the recovery period," Marisa said, tapping the totals. "Paid from Kayla's personal savings." During that time, she remained employed, but was placed on limited duty as directed by medical. She continued working and contributing where possible. The mediator nodded slowly, so she did not stop functioning. "No," Marisa said, "and her hardship is directly tied to documented medical expenses." Jeremiah leaned back, lips pressed. He looked annoyed, which made me almost happy. Then the mediator asked the question that mattered. "Mr. Mercer," she said, addressing Evan directly, "did you believe your wife contributed to the household financially during the marriage?" Evan stared at the table. The silence stretched. It wasn't long, but it felt long because I knew he was deciding whether to tell the truth or stick with his lawyer's script. Finally, Evan said yes. His voice was quiet, like he didn't want it to exist. The mediator nodded and wrote something down. Jeremiah cleared his throat like he was trying to regain control. "Even if she contributed historically, the reality is my client has shouldered the mortgage alone recently." Marisa didn't flinch. because her savings were being drained by medical bills. The mediator lifted a hand. Okay, let's pause. We took a short break. Marissa leaned toward me and whispered, "You're doing great. Don't talk to him." I didn't plan to. I went to the restroom, washed my hands, stared at my face in the mirror, and tried not to think about the fact that my husband had allowed his family to label me unstable, like it was a convenient explanation for his cowardice. When I walked back into the hallway, Evan was there. Of course he was. "Kayla," he said, stepping toward me. I didn't stop. I didn't respond. I walked right past him like he was a stranger trying to hand me a flyer. He tried again. "Please." I kept walking. Back in the conference room, the mediator asked if there was room to compromise. Marissa slid our counterproposal forward clean and simple. 40% equity share. Temporary support for 6 months. Reimbursement for specific out-of-pocket medical costs itemized. No drama wording, no revenge language, just math. Jeremiah scoffed. "That's excessive." The mediator looked at him. "It's structured." Jeremiah tried again. "My client shouldn't be punished." Marissa's voice stayed calm. "This isn't punishment. It's accounting." The mediator turned to Evan. "Mr. Mercer, do you want to go to court over this?" Evan finally looked up, and for the first time his eyes met mine. He looked tired. Not guilty enough to fix things, just tired. "No," he said. Jeremiah blinked like he didn't expect that. Evan kept talking, voice low. "I don't want court." The mediator nodded once. "Then you need to negotiate." Jeremiah shifted suddenly, less confident. He tried to salvage. "We could maybe discuss a smaller equity share." Evan cut in again, still quiet but firm. "I'll agree." The room went still. Jeremiah turned toward him, like, "Are you serious?" Marissa didn't react outwardly, but I saw the smallest lift in her eyebrows, like good choice. The mediator looked at Marissa. "Is this acceptable to your client?" Marissa turned to me. "Kayla." My throat tightened, but my brain was clear. It wasn't perfect. I knew that. The spreadsheet said I'd paid closer to half for most of the marriage. But perfect would mean months of legal fighting, more money burned, more opportunities for Brielle to stir the pot, more stress on my body, while I was still stabilizing. "Free!" Marissa's word came back. I nodded. Yes. The mediator started writing up the preliminary agreement. Papers slid across the table. Signatures. Initials. The kind of small marks that quietly change your life. As I signed, Jeremiah stared at the documents like he hated them. Evan stared at nothing. When it was done, the mediator said, "We have a preliminary settlement." Marissa gathered our folder with efficient hands. "We'll review the final draft when it's prepared." We stood up to leave. Evan didn't speak. I didn't look at him. In the elevator, Marissa exhaled. "Good job. You didn't take the bait. You let facts do the work." My hands started shaking again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was the release after holding yourself together too long. When we stepped out into the lobby, my phone buzzed. A voicemail notification from an unknown number. Then another buzz, an email notification from Brielle. Subject unbelievable. I didn't open it yet. I stared at the screen, feeling my pulse in my fingertips, and Marissa looked at me like she already knew. "Don't," she said calm. "Not here. Get in the car. Then we handle it clean." I nodded, once followed her out of the building, and kept my folder pressed to my side, as if it could physically stop the next wave of nonsense from reaching me. I tossed my folder onto the passenger seat, started the car, and let the engine idle, while my hands shook on the steering wheel like they were still in that conference room, signing my life away in initials. Marissa leaned in through the open window. "Text me when you're home," she said. "And don't open Brielle's email while you're driving." I wasn't going to, I lied. Marissa gave me a look that said she'd been doing this too long to be fooled by polite lies. "Kayla, you won today because you stayed disciplined. Keep it." I nodded, pulled out of the lot, and drove like my brain was floating an inch above my body. At a red light, I finally opened the voicemail. Unknown number, no name. It started with breathing, then a familiar voice, syrupy and angry at the same time. Kayla, Brielle said. "I hope you're proud of yourself." I tightened my grip on the wheel. "You really went in there and tried to take from Evan after everything he's done. After he stayed with you through all that medical stuff. You're disgusting. You're vindictive. You're proving everyone right." The light turned green. I drove. Brielle's voice kept going faster now. "And don't think your command doesn't know. People talk. People see what you're doing. You can't hide behind a uniform and pretend you're some hero when you're just..." I ended the voicemail. Not because it was hurting my feelings, because it was evidence. When I got home, the new locks clicked behind me, with a clean sound that still felt like relief. I set my bag down, took off my shoes, and opened my laptop at the kitchen table before I did anything else. Not even water, not even a breath. I exported the voicemail, saved it, and emailed it to Marissa. Subject: voicemail from Brielle post-mediation harassment. Then I finally opened Brielle's email. Unbelievable. The body was a wall of text written by someone who thought yelling in caps made them right. How dare you! Evan is devastated. You manipulated the mediator. You used your medical situation like a weapon. You embarrassed our family. You're going to regret this. Then she attached a screenshot, not of mediation paperwork, of a Facebook post. A mutual acquaintance had posted something vague. Some people will use anything to play the victim. No names, but the comments were full of guesswork. Someone typed, "Is this about Kayla?" Another replied, "I heard she's unstable." My stomach dropped. Not because strangers believed it. People will believe anything if it gives them entertainment. It dropped because Brielle was doing what she always did, turning private pain into public theater. I took screenshots, every comment, every timestamp, every name. Then I texted Priya. Need help. Public smear happening. Do you have 5 minutes? Priya called immediately. Please tell me you didn't comment. No, I said. Good, she replied. Step 1. Don't feed it. Step 2. Capture everything. Step 3. Report if it crosses into harassment or doxing. Step 4. Tell Chief Rios. I will, I said. And Kayla. Priya added voice hard. This is why we don't argue online. Screenshots don't care about feelings. I almost smiled. Yeah, I hung up and called Chief Rios. She answered on the second ring. Mercer. Chief, I said. Brielle is escalating. She left me a voicemail after mediation, and now there's a smear post circulating. It's not from her account, but she's engaging. Chief's voice went cold in a good way. Send me what you have. Yes, Chief. Also, Chief said if anyone at the command asks you about it, you say one line. This is a personal legal matter, and I'm handling it through counsel. That's it. No explanations. No defensiveness. Yes, Chief. When I hung up, I sat in my kitchen and stared at the ring box on the counter, like it was a symbol of everything I'd survived. Then my phone rang. Heather. Brielle's mother. Evan's mom. I didn't answer. It rang again. I still didn't answer. It rang a third time, and something in me snapped. Not rage exactly. Curiosity mixed with the kind of calm that happens when you finally stop expecting decency. I answered. Hello, I said. Heather's voice came through thin and frantic. Not smug like Brielle. Not polished. Just strained. Kayla, she said. Thank God. I need to talk to you. I didn't respond. I let silence do the work. Heather rushed on. Evan is not okay. He's falling apart. He's gained weight. He's not sleeping. He's barely functioning. He's depressed and the bills, Kayla, the bills are enormous. I blinked. What bills? Our bills, she said, like that was obvious. Medical, therapy, everything. His insurance. I cut in. His insurance barely covers it. Heather hesitated. Well, yes. He changed plans. I almost laughed, but it came out as a sharp exhale. He changed plans. He probably picked something cheap and useless because he'd never needed it before. Because illness was something that happened to other people. Like me, conveniently. Heather kept talking. He's alone. He's scared. He mentioned you. He said he misses you. I held the phone away from my ear for half a second, like it was physically loud. Then I brought it back. Why are you calling me? Heather's voice cracked. Because you know him. You can help him. You're good at fixing things. Fixing things. That was my role. In the marriage, in the family, in the Navy. The person who makes chaos manageable so everyone else can pretend they're fine. I felt my pulse steady. No, I said. Heather went quiet like she didn't understand the word. No, she repeated. I'm not helping, I said, and my voice didn't shake. You and your daughter came into my home and called me disgusting. You emailed my command trying to damage my career. You tried to paint my medical recovery as instability, and now you're calling me because Evan is suffering. Heather's tone shifted, starting to harden. You're being vindictive. I'm being realistic, I said. Evan is not my responsibility. He left. Heather tried a new angle, softer now. Kayla, be the bigger person. Family helps family. I laughed once. Not nice, not cruel, just honest. You made it clear I was never family, I said. You can't fire me from the role and then call me in when the building catches fire. Heather sucked in a breath. That's not fair. No, I said. What you did wasn't fair. This is consequences. Her voice rose. You're enjoying this. I felt nothing. That was the weird part. No triumph, no satisfaction, Just emptiness where her power used to be. I'm not enjoying anything I said. I'm protecting myself. Heather's voice broke again. He needs you. He needs a therapist, I said. And accountability. Not me. Then I ended the call. My hand hovered over the screen, and before I could second-guess it, I blocked her number too. The silence in my kitchen felt huge, like my whole house took a breath with me. My phone buzzed again, another notification from Facebook. Another comment, another person speculating about my life like it was a show. I didn't open it. I stood up, walked to the window, and stared out at the street for a full minute, letting my body calm down. Then I turned back to the table, opened my laptop, and started drafting a clean message to Marissa Harassment. Update voicemail, smear screenshots, Heather call summary date and time. Because I wasn't going to fight them with emotion. I was going to bury them in their own words. I closed my laptop after sending Marissa the harassment update, then sat there for a second, with my hands flat on the table like I was telling my body, we're done running. The next week moved fast in a strange, quiet way. No dramatic confrontations. No surprise visits. Just paperwork doing what it does best, turning chaos into facts and decisions. Marissa emailed the finalized settlement draft 2 days after mediation. I read every line like L.T. Markham had trained me to. Slowly, carefully, looking for traps, looking for vague wording that could turn into a future headache. 40% of the equity paid out when the house refinanced or sold within a set window. 6 months of temporary support. Specific reimbursement for documented out-of-pocket medical costs, itemized and capped. A non-disparagement clause, because apparently some adults still need a rule that says don't lie about people in public. I signed it. Marissa filed it. The court stamped it. The divorce was officially final 6 weeks later, and the world didn't shake. The sky didn't change, but my chest felt lighter, like someone had finally taken a weight off my ribs. Brielle didn't stop trying immediately. She just got smarter for about 5 minutes. A week after the settlement was filed, I received an email from a new address. Subject, I'm sorry. It was short. Kayla, I shouldn't have gotten involved. I was trying to protect my brother. I hope you can move on. There was no apology for calling me a pig. No apology for emailing my command. No apology for the unstable narrative. It wasn't an apology. It was a cleanup attempt. I forwarded it to Marissa and didn't respond. Then she tried again in a different way. A mutual friend sent me a message saying, Brielle really wants to talk and clear the air. I didn't reply to that either. I wasn't taking meetings with the person who treated my career like a toy. Chief Rios handled the command side exactly how she said she would. The next time an email hit the admin inbox from Brielle's address, it got routed to Chief and died there. No drama, no all-hands rumors. Just leadership doing its job and protecting a sailor from civilian nonsense. Priya checked in on me at lunch one day, sliding into the seat across from me with her tray. You alive? She asked. Barely, I said, but yes. She nodded, satisfied. Good. Because I'm not doing your eval inputs for you. I actually laughed, a real laugh this time. My medical follow-ups stabilized too. My endocrinologist adjusted my meds again, and the brain fog eased. My voice stopped feeling scratchy by midday. I stayed within my limited duty restrictions and didn't pretend I was fine when I wasn't. I logged symptoms the way I logged everything now date time impact. No drama, just data. And the funny thing was, once I stopped trying to hide my recovery, like it was shameful, people treated it like what it actually was normal. A medical issue handled responsibly. Not a weakness, not instability, just life. A month after the divorce finalized, the equity payout hit my account. I stared at the number for a full minute. Not because it made me rich. It didn't. But it was mine. It was proof that the story Brielle tried to sell, useless wife burden pig, who contributed nothing, was wrong in the only language people like her understood. Numbers. I paid off a chunk of the medical credit card I'd been carrying. I built a small emergency fund. And I put a deposit down on a modest one-bedroom apartment off base in a quiet neighborhood with good parking and a tiny balcony that got morning sun. The day I got my keys, I stood in the empty living room with the door closed behind me and let the quiet settle around me like a blanket. No Evan, no Brielle, no Heather, no spare key floating around in someone else's purse. Just me. Tasha helped me move the next weekend. She showed up with a truck, 2 cases of water, and the kind of mood that said she'd been waiting for this day. She looked around this new place and nodded. It's cute, she said. It also screams, divorced woman who will call the police. I approve. I rolled my eyes, but I smiled. We carried boxes up the stairs, and with every trip, the apartment became less empty and more mine. I set up the coffee maker exactly where I wanted it. I hung my uniforms in the closet without anyone's stuff crowding them. I put my meds in a drawer that belonged to me, not as something to hide, but as something that kept me stable and alive. That night, Tasha sat on the floor with me eating takeout because I didn't own a table yet. She raised her soda can. "To you," she said, "for finally choosing yourself." I clinked my can against hers. "To paperwork," I said, "because feelings didn't save me." Tasha grinned. "Feelings are cute. Receipts are forever." A couple of weeks later, I got an email from Megan Evans' other sister, the one who had been kind in her own quiet way. It was short, respectful. "I heard you moved. I hope you're doing okay. I'm sorry for how things went down. You didn't deserve it." I read it twice. My chest tightened, but not with longing. With recognition. Megan wasn't Brielle. She wasn't Heather. She wasn't Evan. She was a person who'd watched something wrong happen and finally had the courage to name it. I replied with one line. "Thank you. I'm doing better. I wish you well." Then I left it there. No invitations, no reopening doors. Peace wasn't a group project. At work, my LPO pulled me aside one afternoon and told me my performance had been solid through a rough season. No sympathy voice, no pity, just acknowledgement. Chief Rios told me the same thing in her own language. "Good job not being a mess," which coming from her was basically a hug. Then, out of nowhere, Heather called again from a different number. Probably a landline. Probably desperation. I stared at it until it stopped ringing. No shaking hands this time, no adrenaline, just silence. A week after that, I ran into Evan by accident at a coffee shop near base. I was waiting for my drink when I saw him near the back sitting alone. He looked heavier than he used to, but also smaller somehow. Not physically. Like someone had finally run out of excuses. Our eyes met for a second. He stood up like he wanted to come over. I didn't move. He hesitated, then sat back down. That was it. No speech, no apology, no dramatic moment. Just a man realizing he didn't have access to me anymore. I walked out with my coffee and drove to my apartment, letting the quiet radio fill the car. When I got home, I stepped onto my little balcony, took a sip, and watched the morning light hit the buildings across the street. For a long time, I'd thought revenge was a moment. A confrontation, a final line that made everyone clap. But this wasn't a movie. Revenge for me looked like locks changed, accounts secured, emails saved, and a life rebuilt without begging anyone to understand. I didn't want to win. I wanted peace. I used to think the worst thing that could happen to me was getting sick, gaining weight, and watching my husband walk out like I was a problem he didn't feel like solving. But the real turning point wasn't the surgery or the divorce papers. It was the moment I stopped trying to convince people who benefited from my silence. I didn't fix Evan. I didn't heal his family. I fixed my locks, my accountants, my emergency contacts, and my mindset. In the Navy, you learn that discipline isn't loud, it's consistent. And in family revenge stories like mine, the win isn't screaming back. It's staying calm while the truth stacks up line by line until nobody can argue with it anymore. My body carried me through recovery, my career stayed solid, and my life got quieter in the best way. If you're here for military family drama that feels real, stories where the receipts matter, the boundaries stick, and the revenge is built on self-respect, subscribe to the channel. I post long-form family revenge stories like this one, and if you've ever been blamed for surviving, I want you to know you're not alone.